seen Diddy violent with multiple women. A lot more allegations coming out all the time about it. What do you make of what is happening with Diddy?
The same thing I make of, what's happening with anybody. If you got to deal with the consequences of your actions. Period. You can't run from yourself. I tell people that all the time, man. Like, I'm a big proponent of mental health. And the reason I'm a big proponent of mental health and people doing the work on themselves is because a lot of people are dealing with a lot of unhealed trauma. They're dealing with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. And they end up projecting that pain and that hurt onto other people. And, that's what I think has been happening with him over the years. I don't know him personally. I know him from interviewing him. Of course, I've had conversations with him, but I've never hung out with him. I've never been to a Diddy.
The streets are on fire with this Charlamagne. The God has finally broken his silence and is speaking out against Diddy. Can you believe it? After years of working together, something must have gone down behind the scenes for Charlamagne to put Diddy on blast like this. The drama is real and the stakes are high. Charlamagne and Diddy have been tight for a long time, so for him to come out publicly against Diddy, it's serious business. This isn't just some petty beef chili. There's more to this story, and Charlamagne is ready to spill it all. INTARVE though. So what exactly happened between them? What could have pushed Charlamagne to his breaking point? The tea is piping hot, and we're about to get into all the juicy details. Get ready, because this is going to be a wild ride.
We'll catch up with you. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. I think we're seeing a lot of his BS catching up with him. You can't even hide. Like you just the same way, Trump was trying to hide things. P. Diddy was trying to hide things too by suppressing that tape. So you can't run from yourself, Piz. You got to deal with the consequences of your actions. So whatever happens to him, as far as legal ramifications are concerned, or jail time, he has to deal with that. But what I would tell people is don't forget what the issue is, because a lot of times we do that here in America. We get so caught up in the celebrity that we forget what the actual issue is. And the issue in this situation is domestic violence. The issue in this situation is the patriarchy, because as long as you have men, especially powerful men, thinking that women are their property, and they can do whatever to them, you're going to see situations like the Diddy Cassie tape. And like I said, men not dealing with their unhealed trauma, men not dealing with their pain, men not dealing with their hurt, and projecting it onto people around them. Those are the three issues that I think we really should be focused on, because long after we not talking about this P. Diddy and Cassie situation anymore, there's still going to be women all around the world, dealing with men like that. So how do we get to the root of the issue? I think we only get to the root of the issue by talking about the actual issue and not the.
So let's take it back to where it all began. Charlamagne and Diddy, though way back, they first linked up in the early 2000s when Charlamagne was just starting to make a name for himself in the radio game. Diddy saw something special in him and took him under his wing, giving him a platform on his Bad Boy radio show. It seemed like a match made in heaven. Child, over the years, their bond only grew stronger. Charlamagne became a regular fixture on Diddy's shows and even landed a gig as co-host on the hit MTV2 show Goo Code. They were like two peas in a pod, always hyping each other up and supporting each other's moves. But you know how it goes in the industry. Things can change quicker than you can say. Take that. There were whispers of tension brewing behind the scenes, with rumors of Diddy not always seen eye to eye with Charlamagne's bold and unfiltered style. Still, they managed to keep it cool for the cameras and maintain that tightening image.
I didn't think I was going to ever see a video like this.
And I heard abuse whispers. So
Really?
what I was thinking,
I heard gay. I'd never heard porn.
I always heard gay.
Gay nonstop. And that was enough. People were like,
That's because of Wendy Williams.
What'd you say?
Oh, that was Wendy. Wendy's whole thing was Diddy was gay since the 90s.
She knew, dog.
No, Wendy was
We owe
throwing that
Wendy
out
an
there.
apology.
That's why Wendy got fired from Hot 97. Wendy got fired from Hot 97 by Diddy, because that's when Bad Boy was smoking hot.
Wow.
And she got fired for putting that out there. Like,
do you think that Diddy held on to the gay rumors so that people didn't know what he really was?
Yeah.
ooh.
Because that's the perfect smoke.
It wasn't until recent years that the cracks really started to show. Charlamagne began to speak his mind more freely, even if it meant calling out some of the biggest names in the game. Diddy, on the other hand, seemed to prefer a more calculated approach, always mindful of his brand and reputation. The streets started buzzing with talk of a growing rift between the two, but girl, nothing could prepare us for the bombshell that was about to drop. Something major must have gone down behind closed doors, because Charlamagne is finally ready to put it all out there and expose the truth about his relationship with Diddy. The question on everyone's mind is what could have pushed him to this point. Girl, the tea is scorching hot and the drama is reaching a boiling point. So what exactly pushed Charlamagne over the edge and made him finally speak his truth about Diddy? The streets are buzzing with all kinds of rumors and speculation.
In your book, Get Honest or Die Lying, you talk about the influence of hip hop. And when it comes to hip hop, of course, many people think of Diddy as one of the pioneers. And at one point, you were not happy that his legacy was being destroyed. Let me play this piece of sound.
I don't know, man. I just don't like it. I mean, I don't like it just because it's sad. Like, you know, how many people's legacies have we watched burn to the ground? You know, from the Russell Simmons, from, you know,
but it's
Diddy.
good.
These guys provided the soundtrack to our lives. They contributed to culture in real ways before we knew any of this. No, you have feeling, you have mixed emotions.
And then the video came out after that. He's now issued his sort of apology. Cassie's come out again. Have your thoughts on that changed?
Well, my thoughts, even in that clip that you just played, in context, I said, it's sad to see these people's legacies being destroyed based off, you know, at the time, alleged poor choices. Now we know that those poor choices aren't alleged. We saw the video. So yeah, it still is, you know, sad to see them, you know, not do the work on themselves, have all that unhealed trauma, projecting that pain and that hurt onto a woman. So yeah, he put himself in that situation. And yes, that is still very sad to see. It's sad all across the board. I don't know why we act like, you know, it's just one emotion when it comes to things like this. Because somebody like, you know, Diddy, yeah, we're lying to ourselves if we say he didn't provide the soundtrack to our lives. I don't know him on a personal level. I just know the professional accolades, which were very inspiring to somebody like me. Him having his own record label, him having his own, you know, vodka, like becoming a billionaire. Like those were things that were like, wow, that's the American dream in a lot of ways, right? And to be doing that from hip hop, that was something that was commendable, but we didn't know him as a person.
So are you now angry at him, disappointed in him about the fact that this guy you admired so much has turned out to be a pretty bad guy?
Angry at him, disappointed in him. I don't know if I know him to be angry at him or disappointed in him. I think what bothers me the most is just constantly seeing people make poor decisions and poor choices that cause them to self-destruct. And I think that even with this situation, one thing that I think we get lost in is the celebrity of it all. I think you have to focus on the issue, not the individual. Whatever happens to him is gonna happen. He's gonna have to deal with the consequences of his actions. And you see it happening now. Like, I don't know if that's gonna lead to him, you know, being arrested or whatever, but the empire is falling. It's over professionally. The only thing he can do is go out there and try to get his soul right. But what about the issue of domestic violence?
Right.
What about the issue of patriarchy? What about the issue of, you know, unhealed trauma inside of people that is causing brothers to, you know, cause that kind of harm, you know, to women? Those are the things that we should be talking about, because there's somebody, as I'm talking right now, there's a woman out there probably getting beat up or assaulted, you know, by a man, and her story isn't gonna be on the news. And that, you know, culture of men doing those kind of things, committing violence to women, is still gonna be going on. We need to be having conversations about that. Yeah, solutions. We know what the problem is, but if we continue just to focus on the individual, we'll get caught up in that. You'll be asking me questions like, so should Peloton be getting rid of Diddy's music? It's like, F Diddy. Like, he's gonna have to deal with the consequence of his actions. But what about everybody else that still has to deal with domestic violence? That's women that still have to deal with the patriarchy, women that still have to deal with, you know, men that have unhealed trauma projecting that onto them. Like, that's what I want to talk about.
Word on block is that things have been tense between them for a minute now. But it all came to a head recently. Some folks are saying that Diddy might have tried to control Charlamagne's moves or silence him in some way. You know how it is when Osis clash and power struggles come into play. Others are whispering about a possible betrayal, like maybe Diddy went behind Charlamagne's back on some business deal or project. When it comes to money and loyalty in this industry, lines can get blurred real quick. But here's the thing, whatever went down must have been major for Charlamagne to rise it all and put Diddy on blast like this. He's not the type to just pop off for no reason. There's got to be more to the story that we don't know yet. This moment right here is a game changer, child. It's like a rupture in the fabric of their relationship that can't be easily mended. The trust has been broken, and the cracks are now on full display for the world to see. For Charlamagne, speaking out against Diddy is a bold move that could either elevate his status as a truth tell or backfire and burn bridges. He's taking a stand and reclaiming his power, but at what cost?
I'm not sure if you want to answer this, but what are your thoughts on everything going on with Diddy right now?
I think when it comes to that situation, man, I think we shouldn't focus on the individual. We should focus on the issue. Because I think what happens a lot of times is, because of the celebrity, we get lost in talking about the celebrity and not talking about the actual issue. The issue is domestic violence.
Yep.
The issue is exactly what I just said about, men not going to do the proper work on themselves, and they're dealing with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt and unhealed trauma, and they're projecting that pain and that hurt on the other people. The issue is patriarchy, right? Because as long as you have a system where men feel superior to women and they're dealing with that pain and they're dealing with that hurt, they're going to project that. We're going to continue to project that onto our women. So I think those are the issues that we should be discussing as opposed to talking about the individual. And we tend to do that a lot as a society. We get lost in the celebrity of things as opposed to, okay, what are we here for?
Because it's clickbait.
Yeah.
It's clickbait.
Diddy brings the engagement, but right now, as I'm talking, there's a woman out there getting beat up by a man, right? And she's not going to get no news coverage. Nobody's going to talk about her.
We should say the name of Cassie, the survivor of the domestic violence.
Yes.
Let's talk more about her.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the issue, Priya. Let's talk about the actual issue and not the individual.
When it comes to us, it doesn't seem to be the thing we think, amplified is the right word.
Charlamagne, you talk about in the book how you own up to the fact that the beginning of your career was all being a shock jock. Like, you were getting kind of into the fame of it all. How did you get to that point and then come all the way to this part? Because your book makes so much sense. A lot of your interviews, it's so powerful, but it's not the same person you were.
Well, I shouldn't be. I'm 45 years old. I was born in 1978. I'll be 46 next month. Muhammad Ali said the person who's doing at 50 the same thing they was doing at 20 wasted 30 years of their life. I haven't wasted a moment. If we're not growing and evolving, what are we doing?
Well, because you've also been very open about your mental health journey, seeking out therapy, battling daily anxiety, panic attacks. So one thing I also learned is that you're a tree hugger. That is one step I have not taken.
A tree hugger?
Yeah, I got a chapter in the book called Tree Hug the Block. And I talk about how
I thought that was
there's power in it.
There's
absolutely.
analogy.
But you don't know that. Like you hear people say that, and you like, that's crazy. Why would I go out there and hug trees? Try it. It's summertime. It's springtime. Take your shoes off. Take your socks off. Go do some grounding. Walk around in the grass.
Yeah.
Go hug a tree. Lean up against a tree. Breathe some fresh air. See what happens.
But we also have to let you know there are things that live in these trees that we're hugging.
Check for bears. Especially in New York.
And no, even New Jersey too.
Yeah.
You go out there and hug a tree and
Don't settle for just any tree.
That's right.
Yes.
Be discerning about the tree that you're hugging.
Yes.
But it's always a pleasure to have you here because it's always a good conversation.
I love having you. And that's what the book is about. The book is about conversation.
Yeah.
That's why I end every chapter by saying, let's discuss. We're not having enough conversation. There's too much confrontation now. People like confrontation over conversation now.
And for Diddy, this is a serious blow to this carefully crafted image. As a mogul and mentor, having someone from his inner circle call them out publicly is not a good look no matter how you spin it. But you know what they say, the truth always comes to light eventually. And now that Charlamagne has opened the floodgates, there's no telling what other secrets and revelations might come spilling out. The fallout from this is going to be intense. And everyone is watching to see how it all plays out. Will there be a public war of words? Will other celebrities take sides? And what does this mean for the future of their respective careers and empires?
It was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. So we're not even going to go there with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
No, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah. No, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying?
So probably not a great husband, but
right now everything's going on. Nobody wants to talk about him. I don't want to be the sacrificial lamb.
Why does nobody want to talk about it?
I don't know.
Are people afraid of Diddy's influence? Is that what this is?
I think I'm watching, bro. It is. I'm like, Charlamagne, tell the truth, bro. Go ahead. Oh, hell nah. Like, I'm on my own.
You think Charlamagne won't talk about Diddy?
Nobody will talk about it. Listen, I called Joe. Joe said, Ack, you ain't on with this one, man. I'll catch you on the next scandal. I'm like, what the fuck? He's
really?
Yeah.
So, and explain the influence of Diddy, because I'm seeing people dropping him left and right.
Plentis. I don't know what they might be.
Did Diddy Aaliyah?
I don't know.
Why you put Aaliyah on? Why is she involved in this?
I thought it was like a faulty plane, but you never know. He blew up a car, you never know. Might have, I don't know.
But why Aaliyah? You tell me, Al.
John Ossoff, right, in Georgia, he said you should support the people that I've supported. You should support the person who the people I've supported are supporting.
Okay.
That's y'all opportunity to say, well, clearly he's talking about President Biden. Why do y'all need us to say this if we don't feel comfortable saying it?
No, it's not that we need you to say it, but I think other folks need to hear, because, you know, one of the things I'm sorry, I just jumped you, I'm sorry, but one of the things that we've been talking about is the fact that getting facts out through the media seems to be very difficult.
I feel like I just spewed some facts.
Yeah.
Yes, but we need you to do it on your show.
Well, the reality is I think both candidates are trash. So but I am going to vote in November, and I'm going to vote my best interest, and I'm going to vote who I think, can preserve democracy. So if I think both candidates are trash and I don't feel like, endorsing one, would you rather me endorse an individual or endorse the fact that, hey, we need to go out here and protect democracy?
What was fascinating, Charlamagne, was their stunned reaction. They couldn't really deal with this. It was a kind of presumption by them that you would vote for Biden. And when you said, actually, I think both candidates are trash, they were sort of shocked. They didn't know what to say. And I've watched The View a few times, and it's so ridiculously partisan now. I watched Joy Behar reacting to the Trump conviction and saying she actually got a leak, she said, and tittered away. And I was like, wow. What part of you thinks that is a smart way to deal with what is going on right now? To look like you're so partisan, so overexcited by anything that's damaging to Trump, that you lose all kind of reasonable ability to assess and analyze the big picture about American politics and where the country is.
Yeah, and I don't like the assumption that, just because I don't want to endorse, means I'm not voting. And
right.
It goes back to what I keep saying about the left really does not know how to push narratives in any way, shape, or form. Because, I was on CNN this weekend, and I literally was talking about a chapter in my.
The streets are on fire with reactions to Charlamagne's explosive statement against Diddy. It's like a bomb drop, and everyone is scrambling to pick up the pieces. The tea is scalding hot, and folks are not holding back their opinions. Social media is lit up like a Christmas tree, with people weighing in from all sides. Some are applauding Charlamagne for his bravery and honesty, calling him a real one for speaking his truth. They're saying it's about time someone stood up to Diddy and exposed the behind-scenes drama. But others are coming for Charlamagne hard, accusing him of being disloyal and biting the hand that fed him. They're questioning his motives and wondering if this is just a publicity stunt or a way to boost his own career at Diddy's expense. Even celebrities are getting in on the action, throwing their dissents into the ring. Some of Diddy's longtime collaborators are rushing to his defense, painting Charlamagne as an ungrateful opportunist. But there are also those who are siding with Charlamagne, sharing their own stories of industry politics and power plays. One thing's for sure, this feud is far from over, and the ripple effects are going to be felt for a long time to come. Diddy's reputation as an untouched able mogul has taken a serious hit, and he's going to have to do some major damage control to bounce back from this.
Called The Language of Politics is Dead. And I give credit to Donald Trump for killing the language of politics. Like, he's made it to where politicians They don't have to be perfect. They don't always have to say the right thing. And they can actually say what they truly feel if they choose to. You know, Fox News, I was on CNN, Fox News took that clip and their headline was, Charlamagne the God praises Donald Trump for killing the language of politics. That's just them pushing the narrative that they want to push. I didn't praise him.
In a way, I understand why they did that, because in a way you're kind of praising him. What you're acknowledging is that Trump's appeal, and this, I don't want to speak for you can tell me, but it seems to me what you were saying was Trump's appeal comes from the fact he's a straight talker. You may not like what he's saying, but he sounds authentic, and he doesn't sound like a normal, robotic, pre-planned, pre-rehearsed politician.
Oh, I say it all the time. I said that, you know, somebody like Donald Trump and a lot of conservatives in general, especially the MAGA ones, they are more sincere about their lies than Democrats are about their truth. So you can hear a conservative say something that you know is not true, but it'll sound sincere. And you can hear a Democrat say something that possibly is true, but they don't sound like, you know, they don't sound sincere about it in any way, shape, or form.
Did you feel the Donald Trump conviction was a good moment for America?
I mean, listen, man, we say nobody is above the law, right? So, I mean, if charges are brought up against somebody and, you know, they go through their due process, they go to court and they're found guilty, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, because nobody is, you know, above the law. But what I think is going to happen now is you're going to see a lot of tit for tat.
Of
you
course.
know, now that you know they've made it to where I can totally see them doing political, you know, retaliation in the courts. If I'm not mistaken, Hunter Biden's, you know, the jury selection begins in his trial today. So how do you know Hunter Biden is going to get a fair trial? You know, we just had you know, Governor Josh Shapiro here, and he told us that he sued Donald Trump 43 times, and in return, Donald Trump sued the state of Pennsylvania, you know, 43 times. So I mean, that's just I don't want to see that in our political system. I don't want to see people just, you know, weaponizing the courts and, you know, weaponizing the justice system and just, you know, going after each other. But I think that's what you're going to see. You know, Trump gets back in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, my issue with it is, I agree no one should be above the law, but nor should the law be twisted to just go after one person like Trump. I mean, there's no other businessman in New York who would have had what was a state misdemeanor offense at worst upgraded to a felony in the way that Alvin Bragg did, because he's politically motivated in most people's estimation. I think he is. He's a Democrat. He make no bones of it. He wanted to take down Donald Trump. But by escalating a state misdemeanor to a felony in the way that he did, he wasn't actually treating Trump fairly in the way that the law would normally treat someone. So I think in a way, it's not that Trump felt he was above the law. If he was just entitled to the same treatment in US law as every other business guy in New York, he would not have had to face felony charges. That's the reality. It got twisted and morphed up to be something a lot more serious than it actually was. In the end, he had a fling with a porn star nearly 20 years ago, one night stand, which he denies, but I think it's pretty clear he did. And here we are 20 years later, and he's running for president, you know, in 2016, and he wants to hide this information like a lot of famous people do when people make allegations about them, and he pays her off. And then because he shovels a bit of paperwork in his business, suddenly he's now facing imprisonment. And I just felt
we know he's not going to see no prison, but I mean, you know, we can't just, if it's illegal, it's illegal, Pierre. And if you get caught, then you got to, you know, deal with the consequences of those actions. You know, I'm not.
Yeah, but should an American president? Yeah, but so my point is this: if they were taking an American president to court over an illegal drone program that killed thousands of innocent people, if they were doing it over major corruption involving government funds that were being funneled to a president and his family, you know, something of that order, then okay, I get it, right? But to do it to Trump over a payment which at $150,000 was about a fifth or a quarter of the amount that Bill Clinton paid to pay off Paula Jones, who accused him of sexual harassment, and he was president at the time, unlike Trump. And yet Bill Clinton never got dragged through criminal courts. He didn't shuffle a bit of paperwork to pay it. So yeah, technically it wasn't
As for Charlamagne, he's definitely ruffled some feathers and burned some bridges, but he's also solidified his status as a fearless truth teller. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that he's got people talking and shaking things up in a major way. But the real question on everyone's mind is what's going to happen next. Will Diddy clap back with his own statement? Will more dirty laundry be aired out for the world to see? And what does this mean for the future of their respective empires? One thing we know for sure is that the drama is far from over, and we'll be watching every twist and turn with bated breath. This is the kind of juicy scandal that keeps the streets buzzing for weeks on, and so buckle up, child, because this roller coaster ride is just getting started, and we're in for a while. The tea is piping hot, and the drama is reaching a fever pitch. Who knows what bombshells will drop next in this epic showdown between two industry titans?
I don't think anyone disputes that the jury made the right decision when they had to adjudicate on this. But my question is, should this ever have come to court? Some of the other cases that Trump's involved with are infinitely more serious. You know, his involvement in January 6th, you know, the documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago and shuffled around, the Georgia phone call and so on, they're all more serious. But to take a president of the United States through the criminal court in election year, depriving him of his right to campaign, all I thought was, whatever happens here, Trump tried stolen election last time wrongly, without any evidence. But this time he's going to have a very good case. If he loses this election by a marginal amount, which is quite likely one of the wins or loses by a marginal amount, he's just going to say this got stolen all over again. By putting me through the courts for 2 months, preventing me from campaigning over a stupid little story involving a fling 20 years ago, they have stopped me winning the election. And he'd actually, I think probably a lot more people agreeing with him than he did last time.
Yeah, he was going to say that regardless. I don't know how much sympathy he's going to get, though, because, you know, when you are a powerful person, when you've been a person who's been as wealthy as long as Donald Trump, you know, a lot of everyday people aren't going to feel sorry for you, because there's everyday people who get, you know, jammed up in the justice system and get, you know, sentenced to jail for, you know, lesser crimes than what Trump, you know, just got convicted for. So I don't think nobody's going to feel sorry for him in that case. And then, you know, and if it was a political move, hey, it was a brilliant political move, because I read this morning, or I read over the weekend, that 49% of independents think Trump should drop out, you know, after the convictions. You know, it's easier to say this is a witch hunt, this is a witch hunt, this is a witch hunt, you know, when you haven't been convicted. And that was one of my concerns. I said that last week. I was like, yo, if Donald Trump, before the verdict came in, I was like, yo, if he gets found not guilty on this, it makes everything across the board look like a witch hunt. It makes what's, you know, going on in Florida, what's going on in Georgia with the election case, it makes all of that look, makes the January 6th insurrection stuff, it makes everything look like a witch hunt. If he was found not guilty on these 34 counts, it wouldn't even matter that it was just some Stormy Daniels porn star stuff. It would just make his, you know, declaration that all of this is a witch hunt stronger. So the fact that he was convicted, I think it does change the minds of a lot of people. You know, I think he has his diehard supporters who are going to, you know, show up for him regardless. But when you look at those independents, and they're like 49% of them say they think Trump should drop out after the conviction, that was a good political move if it was a political move.
Well, I said on the flip side, he's raised nearly $60 million since he was convicted, smashing all records. He's galvanized his base massively. The independents are very important, there's no question. But I'm now going to ask you a question which will fly completely in the face of what I was talking to you earlier about only asking you to represent the black community. I don't mean it like that, but there'll be a lot of black Americans who will share Trump's view about the justice system being particularly unfair to members of the African American community in America. So is Trump not entitled to say, look, on this occasion, the justice system was deliberately skewed to nail me and was therefore used unfairly?
Yeah, I highly disagree about you know, that narrative that a lot of black people are gravitating towards Trump, because you know, Trump is being targeted by the justice system, or, you know, now he's, you know, been convicted of crimes. I push back on that. Yeah, I just don't agree with that, because when you look at what happened with Trump, like, people, there's a two-tier justice system in America. We know that. We know that there's a way, you know, that black people are treated, and we know that there's a way, you know, white people are treated. But then there's another third tier that we're seeing right now. And there is a way that, you know, privileged white males who used to be president are treated, because in the New York case, you never saw a mugshot. You never saw Donald Trump and then he handcuffs. Piers, you tell me where that happens. Who does that happen to in America? There's rich,
well,
wealthy
we have seen.
white.
It's a very interesting point. I want to end, Charlamagne, a couple of totally different stories. One is what's happening with P. Diddy. His former security guard, Roger Bonds, came on my show last week, said he'd seen Diddy violent with multiple women. A lot more allegations coming out all the time about it. What do you make of what is happening with Diddy?
The same thing I make of, what's happening with anybody. If you got to deal with the consequences of your action. Period. You can't run from yourself. I tell people that all the time, man. Like, I'm a big proponent of mental health. And the reason I'm a big proponent of mental health and people doing the work on themselves is because a lot of people are dealing with a lot of unhealed trauma. They're dealing with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. And they end up projecting that pain and that hurt onto other people. And, that's what I think has been happening with him over the years. I don't know him personally. I know him from interviewing him. Of course, I've had conversations with him, but I've never hung out with him. I've never been to a Diddy party. None of that. Like, that's just not, things that I'm interested in doing. But I feel like, he's a person who's been dealing with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt for a long time. And, it seems like he's been hurting a lot of people. And like I said, projecting a lot of pain on folks. And you cannot run from yourself. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're P. Diddy. I don't care if you're Donald Trump. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care what race you are. You cannot run from yourself. Eventually, your BS will catch up with you. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. I think we're seeing a lot of his BS catching up with him. You can't even hide. Like, you just the same way, Trump was trying to hide things. P. Diddy was trying to hide things too by suppressing that tape. So you can't run from yourself, Piers. You got to deal with the consequences of your actions. So whatever happens to him, as far as legal ramifications are concerned, or jail time, he has to deal with that. But what I would tell people is don't forget what the issue is, because a lot of times we do that here in America. We get so caught up in the celebrity that we forget what the actual issue is. And the issue in this situation is domestic violence. The issue in this situation is the patriarchy, because as long as you have, men, especially powerful men, thinking that women are their property, and they can do whatever to them, you're going to see situations like, the Diddy Cassie tape. And like I said, men not dealing with their unhealed trauma, men not dealing with their pain, men not dealing with their hurt and projecting it onto, people around them. Those are the three issues that I think we really should be focused on, because long after we not talking about this P. Diddy and Cassie situation anymore, there's still gonna be women all around the world, dealing with men like that. So how do we get to the root of the issue? I think we only get to the root of the issue by talking about the actual issue and not the individuals.
Another big story in the news at the moment is Caitlin Clark, biggest star at the moment in women's basketball. She was pushed to the ground in this rather notorious incident a few days ago by Kennedy Carter off the ball. And this follows a couple of things. One was one of your friends from The View, Sonny Hostin, one of the co-hosts, arguing that white privilege and pretty privilege played a role in Caitlin Clark's popularity. ESPN former host Jameel Hill also said that her popularity was due to her race and sexuality. And people are saying, well, that is why potentially Kennedy Carter did what she did off the ball. When you put it all together, what do you feel about this, Charlamagne? Are we seeing the race element of this story coming to the fore inevitably?
I don't think that the young woman who pushed her did it because Caitlin Clark is white, but I will go back to the points that Jameel Hill and Sonny made. I think race is a factor in Caitlin Clark, but it's not the first factor. The first factor in Caitlin Clark's success is that she's phenomenal as a basketball player. Like, she's
right.
We've never seen anything like her. She's the leading scorer in Division I basketball, period, male, female, whatever. But Piers, you have to admit, whenever you see somebody excelling in a field that race doesn't usually excel in, it is heightened. You can look at Tiger Woods in golf.
Yeah.
You can look at Eminem in rap music. You can look at, even President Obama.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Here's the difference. When Obama and Tiger Woods dominated their fields of politics and golf, people didn't use their skin color in the same way they're using Caitlin Clark. What they're saying there is she's got white privilege, pretty privilege, she's a pretty white girl, and that's the only reason there's all this fuss about them. Whereas I don't think you would argue with Obama and Tiger Woods. Yeah, there was a fuss about them, but that's because they were, one was a brilliant politician, and the other one was one of the great golfers of all time.
But that's the point. They're all once in a lifetime generational talents, including Caitlyn, including an Eminem. But whenever you see somebody, excelling in a field that race usually doesn't excel in, there's going to be more eyeballs on it. You're going to be like, damn, you heard this dude, Eminem,
That's true.
White dude.
That's true, yeah.
Same thing with Caitlyn. You seen that white guy? That girl can ball. That white girl can ball. It's just a thing. It's not like, but their success isn't just because they're white. Their success is because they're phenomenally good at what they do, and there is that element to it. Just like we see it all the time. So it's like I think when the girl hit her, I think she's just going through some rookie hazing. I think there is a lot of rookie hazing involved with that because she's not the only rookie. Angel Reese, she got, they choke slammed her last week, right? So I just think there's a level of rookie hazing going on, and there is a lot of jealousy and envy because these young ladies that are coming into the league now, the Angel Reeses, the Caitlin Clarks, they've made a lot of money. They've made more money than some of these women that's been in the NBA for years. So I think there is a level of jealousy and envy. Like when I saw the young lady tweet out, the young lady that pushed Caitlin Clark, I can't remember her name, but she tweeted out, other than 3-pointers, what does she bring to the table? That's an envy. You got to admit that's an envious statement, right?
Yes.
Like that's a statement that reeks of jealousy.
It does.
So I don't.
Let's be real, Chili. The future of Charlamagne and Diddy's relationship is looking shakier than a three-legged table. Right now, the tea has been spilled, the damage has been done, and there's no turning back from this explosive fallout. But here's the thing, even though bridges have been burned and trust has been shattered in the crazy world of celebrity drama, you never know what could happen next. Will they find a way to patch things up and make amends, or will this be the final nail in the coffin of their once tight-knit bond?
I don't think she's playing the race card. I think she's just upset at a lot of the attention, that a Caitlin Clark is getting. But I'll tell you what, they better be careful how they treat Caitlin Clark. They better be careful how they treat Angel Reese. If not, they're going to be back flying JetBlue in a minute. They're going to be back on Delta. They're going to be back on Southwest. It's not going to be no chartered planes for those young ladies if they, end up hurting either one of those women. But they shouldn't be soft on them either.
No, I totally agree. And actually, I'm sure, listen, I haven't seen Caitlin Clark complaining. I think she'll probably dust herself down, score some more 3-pointers, and get a bit tougher physically, which is what she'll have to do to be in the program. But on that specific point Sonny Hostin made about white privilege and pretty privilege playing a role in her popularity, again, using the Tiger Woods analogy, he was so talented that I don't remember saying that he was benefiting in a white sport from black privilege or, black or being a good-looking young black guy. They weren't used as the sticks to beat him with when he rose to the top of golf very quickly. And yet here we have Caitlin Clark, who is by any definition a brilliantly talented basketball player, regardless of her skin color, having somebody on national television say, actually, she's only really popular because of her white and pretty privilege. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I mean, Caitlin is, like I said, she's a once-in-a-lifetime generational talent. Like, she's literally the leading scorer in college basketball history. Like, I started watching women's college basketball because my wife, she graduated from the University of South Carolina. She was a cheerleader for the University of South Carolina. So I used to go to a lot of football games, a lot of basketball games. I'm a Gamecock fan. When Don Staley came to the University of South Carolina, I started watching, women's basketball a lot. When we kept Asia Wilson, who was the face of the WNBA, the best talent in the WNBA now, when she stayed home in South Carolina and played for us, I watched that whole run and never stopped watching women's college basketball. So I saw when Angel Reese came in. I saw when, Caitlin Clark came in. And what kept me watching was the fact that they were really good.
Yes.
Like, all of them were really good. Like, they are, phenomenal competitors, man. So it's like, yeah, I think that there is an element, I think there is an element of race. But like I said, I think it's because whenever you see somebody dominating,
that's a very good point.
That race doesn't usually dominate it, It just makes it more of a spectacle. It just does.
Yeah.
That's just how we're all wired. I don't know. When you see the first black president, that's more historic than any other president that's ever happened. When you see Tiger Woods, that's more historic than anything else. You know, when you see a Caitlin Clark, you're like, wow, I've never seen that. You know, so I mean, yeah, to deny race in those situations, it would be foolish of us. But that's not the sole reason. I don't even know what the percentage would be, but I wouldn't even give that half of why, you know, she's successful.
And your message to Chennedy Carter is be careful you're not back flying JetBlue.
What's her name? What's her name again?
Chennedy Carter.
Chennedy Carter, yes. To Chennedy Carter and, you know, all the other women out there that are being super tough on the rookies like the Angel Reese and the Caitlin Clarks, you have to be careful, because if you hurt one of them, y'all gonna all be back, you know, flying Delta or JetBlue, which is nothing wrong with Delta or JetBlue. I love both of them. I can have miles on both of them. But if I could fly private all the time, I probably would. If I could fly charter jet, I probably would. So, you know, don't cut your nose off to spite your face. But don't be soft on them either, though.
No. I thought Martina Navratilova made a good point. She said the players in the WNBA need to realize that Clark is helping all of them now, and in the long run, Caitlin's the tide that will raise all boats. And I totally get that. It's like the more exciting you can make the sport, the Women's National Basketball Association sport, look, the more eyeballs you're going to get, the more money they're all going to get.
And she's absolutely right. And by the way, the reason everybody is having a reaction to what happened to Caitlin is because it wasn't a basketball play.
Yeah.
Like, it was clearly a cheap shot. Like my man Matt Barnes, he hosts a very popular podcast called the All the Smoke podcast that you can hear on my podcast network, the Black Effect iHeartRadio podcast network, him and Steven Jackson. He said that, Indiana needs an enforcer. Indiana needs somebody that protects, you know, the star. Because he was an enforcer for Kobe Bryant, God bless the dead. And just like you've seen other enforcers, like Charles Oakley was an enforcer for Michael Jordan when he was on the Bulls. Like, every team needs an enforcer. So when there's a cheap shot like that happens to, Caitlin Clark, somebody can retaliate. Piz, I was born in 1978, so I'm sure you follow American basketball. You saw there was a time, I think it was Bill Laimbeer had like he just did this disgusting, dirty foul play on Larry Bird, right? Mind you, Bill Laimbeer's white, Larry Bird's white. So it's just basketball. He hurt Larry Bird. I don't know if I think it was the next game. Robert Parrish, black center, two-piece Bill Laimbeer. It wasn't even a basketball play, just a beat down to the ground, because you need an enforcer. And I think, that's what this situation is. The Indiana Fever do need an enforcer, to protect Caitlin Clark.
I have an idea for who that could be. I think if LeBron James just needs to identify as a woman, and then by Joe Biden's yardstick, that would be fine.
One thing's for sure, the streets will be watching every move they make, waiting for the next juicy tidbit to drop. And let's not forget, this whole mess is just a piece of a much bigger puzzle. Remember when we talked about all those wild rumors swirling around Diddy's shady dealings and questionable behavior? Well, if you want the full scoop on that, you've got to check out the video 50 Cent exposes Oprah for being Dida. Madam Oprah profited from Diddy's empire. Trust me, it'll make your jaw hit the floor faster than a sack of Brits. So what do y'all think? Is this the end of the road for Charlamagne and Diddy, or just a bump in the road? Sound off in the comments and let us know your thoughts. And don't forget to stay tuned, because in this game, the plot twists just keep on coming.